said that it'd be a good time to talk about spiritual abuse in the church because we've seen in the headlines recently situations where, especially a lot of these mega churches, nothing wrong with mega churches, but like it seemed that the news caught up with those situations because they were mega churches, of situations where leaders in those churches grew these congregations from, very small congregations to very large ones. And there's a lot of enthusiasm, and energy surrounding these churches.
Yeah.
But something along the way, maybe from the very inception of those places, went wrong, and you saw situations where leaders were found taking advantage of the congregation, practices that were not healthy, even some of the pathology or the issues that these people had internally that ended up
Yeah.
manifesting itself as a church-wide kind of situation because of their own stuff that they were struggling with that they never dealt with.
A comedian and a psychiatrist walk into a church,
Walk into a church, man.
creating a safe place for us to talk about the stuff that everybody deals with.
Exactly.
I think of all the things that have made me cringe over
Right.
the years in church. And you're more professional. I'm just a comedian here. But I'm like, man, I think part of it starts with the basis of fatherlessness. Or some jacked up stuff from a kid's childhood, because I don't like, and I'm not saying anything's wrong necessarily with people who use this language,
Yeah.
but it seems like sometimes some church coaches are obsessive with this word, my spiritual daddy, and I'm like, I'm just like, oh, like,
Yeah.
yeah. So for some people, I'm not throwing shade on you if this
Right.
is healthy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But sometimes it just seems a little bit obsessive, man.
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right, man. And I think because the issue is, and I was talking to my wife about this recently, the issue is that the church is supposed to be the place for the brokenhearted.
yeah,
It's supposed to be a place where people who are really struggling can find hope. Like that's
right,
why Jesus came in the first place, right? He
yeah,
came for the people on the margins, and the church was supposed to be this place where they found a new family,
right,
right? And so what that means though is that psychologically you can have a lot of people coming into the church who are searching for answers because they're carrying hurts from before,
yeah,
right? And what that can do, unfortunately, in the wrong circumstance, is that you can create a place that it can prey upon people like that, right? It can prey upon, and it may not be
Repeat that
intentional.
again. You broke up somehow. You
Oh,
broke.
sorry, yeah, it can prey upon people like that, right? So when you are hurt, psychologically hurt, and you're looking for answers, and you come into the church looking for somebody to help to heal you, like it can also put you in a position where you're susceptible to being abused, right?
Yeah,
And so the church is supposed to be a place where people are healed, but
right,
unfortunately, because the devil works everywhere, including inside of the church, unfortunately, those very same people can be targets in them. And when you think about the
yeah,
most nefarious situation, so like Jim Jones back in the day in the late 70s, in Guyana, right? So that was like a cult situation. That was like the most
yeah,
extreme of it. But like those people wanted answers. Those people were hurting people, and this charismatic guy shows up and he says, "Hey, I've got the answers for you guys, and follow me. I'll take care of you."
right,
Right? And then he takes them to a place where eventually a lot of them ended up killing themselves, um, in Guyana, right? And it's like, how does that happen? Well, it happens because if you're hurting and somebody promises you answers, it can put you in a place where you're susceptible to being used and misdirected. And it may not be as extreme, obviously, as what happened in Guyana, but it's like there's various versions of that. I think that happens within our church. And what you talked about before about like even fatherlessness, like let's say you were fatherless, or you had a difficult relationship with your parents,
Yeah.
right? There's a hole in your heart.
Right.
And this person intentionally or unintentionally steps into that space, and it gives them
Yeah.
an incredible amount of power over your life.
So two things. One thing. What's scary about the Jim Jones thing is when you really look into his story. I watched a documentary on him,
Mm-hmm.
dude. They say that dude started off in a legit church and was a legit preacher. They say that cat could preach like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And then somehow this shift came, which like goes to show, like, yo, we better know the scriptures for ourselves. And
Right.
it's okay with our preachers and pastors, like, yo, pastor, I got a question. That one in there, like,
Right.
That is very healthy. Like Acts 17, the Bereans, they reasoned together and searched the scriptures daily to see if the stuff that he was saying was true.
Yeah, exactly.
But then and this is where, like, you are one of the GOATs. You like LeBron, Michael, Kobe. Is unresolved childhood trauma attributes to the spiritual abuse, whether from the pastor or the member.
Right. Yeah. Listen, man, listen. And so we talked about a very extreme example with Jim Jones, right? And how like all these people got sucked into this movement and ended up in a very terrible place. But like, man, like I really think, I will oftentimes think about the members as the people walking in with wounds. But what you just did a while ago is so huge, because I think for a lot of preachers, church leaders, man, like your unhealed hurt can cause you to, one, seek leadership positions in the church, right, for validation, and then two, for you to interpret the Bible in such a way that you're interpreting it through your pain.
Right.
You're creating a culture that is based on your pain, that is based on your desire to feel accepted and validated in your hard work, right?
Right.
And a place, for example, like a good example is, I've been in situations where I've seen, I saw one preacher said this one time, like, listen, he said it during a message. He was like, listen, he did this long message, and it's fine. And at the end of it, he said, listen, man, like, if you want to talk about what we spoke about today after, that's fine. But know that I know more Bible than you, right? And that's what he said. I know more Bible than you. So you really can't be questioning me, right? And I was like, man, that wow, you shouldn't be saying that. But
absolutely,
a lot of times people can't be questioned, because if they're questioned, it's like you're attacking them. And because of their own hurts, they can't deal with the attacks, or their perceived attacks. They can't deal with it. So now they make it the church place where it's like, listen, like, you're going to follow me. I am the man of God. Essentially, I'm Moses out here. And you can't question me, because if you question me, you're questioning God. And you come up with a theology that protects your ego.
Bro. Yeah. Oh, well, no, that's faster. That's faster.
That's faster.
So, and I think it's important that the members know how to create this. Again, I keep pushing this Acts 17:11 model. The Bereans were noble men and women.
Yes, yeah.
Who got together, and them cats were like, dude, they searched the scriptures to see if this stuff was true. So I think one thing that, now I'm a comedian, but I'm a young newbie, one of these guys.
Right.
And so one thing that I've been doing is is trying to cultivate a culture where the members can ask questions and don't agree with the pastor. Like, yo, it's okay to disagree with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose a fun theological topic. Is man trichotomous or dichotomous? Is man made up of three, body, soul, spirit,
right?
or is man made up of body, soul? Dichotomy 2, body, soul, or trichotomy, body, soul, spirit. And what I did was I laid out, I said, okay, either one of these positions do not contradict orthodoxy. Like, yo, it's not, you're not a heretic.
Right.
You're not reading.
Right.
If you, in fact, this is an in-house debate, and some oftentimes switch on both.
Right.
So let's have a discussion of who's dichotomous or what you think, and let people just hear the passages and let's talk about it. Let's have some fun. It's a battle rap between the trichotomous and the dichotomous. And so the third week, I finally unveiled which one I was.
Yeah.
But then told them they still got to argue against mine.
Nice. And you see, that is perfect, because what that shows is that you are in a place where, like, listen, like, okay, so I'm a psychiatrist. I prescribe medications, right? And then sometimes people come in as like, well, doc, I don't agree with that medication, right? Or I want to switch to something else. And I've seen situations with certain doctors where they're like, they'll get upset with their patient because the patient changed medications, right? Because what has happened is that because the patient has rejected that medication, it feels like a rejection of them and their expertise. Ooh. So now they're feeling like a little like, I don't like how this feels. Like, why do you want to change your medicine? This is the best medicine for you. And now you're up in your feelings, and now you're externalizing it like it's medical opinion and it's medical. Like, hey, I know what I'm talking about. You don't know what you're talking about, right? But it's all that the person made you feel bad about yourself because they rejected something you put forth to them. And that's what you did there was the opposite of that. What you're saying is that, listen, man, like, we're all just trying to make it in here, whether you're the preacher, whether you just got baptized yesterday, like, we're all just trying to make it in here, right? And there's nobody here who has any opinions that is above criticism, right?
Yeah.
And even if I do criticize your position on something, it's not a criticism about you as a person. I can separate my thoughts from who I am.
Indeed. So when it comes to pastor and the members, what are some signs of, or what are some signs of spiritual abuse? Like, where this stuff goes on where people might not realize it, and hopefully today they watching, and they question it. And just know, I think it's healthy to ask, is there spiritual abuse in my church?
Right.
And don't just hear this like, ain't no abuse in my church. Right. That might be an indication that it is.
There is something going on, because things you have to, because it's such a subtle thing. And because, it's really, really sad, because the church has a history of really bad things happening inside of the church. That's the facts. You can't argue it, right? And so oftentimes that happens because there's a lack of critical thinking and a lack of questioning. Just the idea of just questioning. And, some people question just because they want to make, a fuss about everything, right? We're not talking about that. We're talking about questioning. It's like, listen, you have, the Bible talks about rightly dividing the word of truth, meaning that you have to know how to understand the Bible. Otherwise, you'll be led astray. And we see Paul himself addressing various churches where people are rising up trying to lead people astray, right? And unless you understand your word, you're going to be led astray. Unless you're asking questions, like, hey, like, I don't understand this. Explain it to me. Right. Why are we doing this? Right? Listen, and it can happen in so many different ways. It's sad. So something as simple as saying, all right, so, you know, well, how are we going to be dressing at this church, right?
Yeah.
And people, I mean, I'm all for modesty and all that kind of stuff, but like people policing people's clothing,
Right.
right? Like leaders will go up on the
Yeah.
stage and start talking about people's clothing, right? They don't have a
Right.
conversation with them, but they're just like, you know, they don't talk to them personally, but they're like, I see certain people wearing this and wearing that, and that's not acceptable to hear, right? And
Yeah.
like you're shaming the person, you haven't had a conversation with them, right?
Absolutely.
And no, you will say, everybody will say, well, yeah, because modesty is important and all that kind of stuff. But what you have used is shame to supposedly enforce something good.
Absolutely. And that comes from, like, I think we got to ask the question, if I see somebody in violation and I bypass that person to go talk about that person,
Yes.
where is that coming from? And I think the one that's pride, it's an unbiblical way to resolve conflict.
Yes.
Or something that's wrong, because the scripture says, yo, you go to them. Like you find somebody in fault, you go to them. If they don't listen to you, go get one or two other people, talk to them. If they don't listen to you, then you can go before everybody.
Right. Right.
But we don't do that. It's like, it's so much easier and it feels good. Well, it's a deceptive feeling of good.
Deceptive, yeah.
If I go to everybody else instead of that person. So, doctor, what is it inside of me if I'm gonna be I don't know, a spiritual punk and bypass the person?
Right.
Why do I do that? Now, I'm not saying me, but why do people do that?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, because and I think there's a lot of reasons for it. Like, I mean, we could spend hours talking about why this happens. I really do. I mean, one big one, obvious one to me is it's a form of conflict avoidance, right? Because you don't like talking to somebody face to face and say, listen, I have a problem with something you're doing, whatever that thing is not an easy thing. But when you are giving the power of the pulpit and this person can't question you, right? No, you can say and do anything, right? You can say and do anything, and you have the church's backing because you're talking about something quote unquote spiritual, right?
Yeah.
And I don't have to have a conflict with you. I just gave an edict. I gave an edict. The king has given an edict, and like it's just for y'all to follow. Y'all just need to follow. And if you're not following, well, are you really a Christian? Do you really love God? Like, if you walk seriously, like, and I've heard things like that come from pulpits before. It's like, so it's almost like what you are doing is squashing dissent, and you're creating an atmosphere of fear because people are targeted, right?
Yeah.
And it's scary stuff. Like when you take it to the extreme. I know, like, I don't know if you remember the situation with Mark Driscoll, I think was at Mars Hill.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that was going on there until that whole situation kind of fell apart. It's like it sounded like there was like bullying going on, and like people were afraid to speak up about things because of consequences that were going to happen. And that's not how a family is supposed to operate, right? Like a family shouldn't operate like that. But that's what you see. And so now this person that's been given so much power, the power differential is so great, they can say and do anything because they've led us to this great place. And then now it's like we can't rock the boat and talk to the pastor about stuff because it's like, well, he clearly knows what he's doing and he's clearly empowered by God. So we just got to find a way to figure this out and obey.
Yeah. Dude, that's that's why I talked about this book last time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show it again right quick. Hold up.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
This book right here, man.
Yes, Dangerous Calling, right? I need to look that up.
Dangerous Calling, dude. This, oh my Lord. This helps anybody who's I would suggest this book to anybody who's in church leadership, or anybody who may think that they're not wrestling with church abuse. Because I think oftentimes for this guy, this individual, how you do one thing is how you do everything. It shows up first in this person's family.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
And so you pay attention to how a person responds. Like this one particular guy, his wife told him, like, hey, you need to slow this down. You need to switch it up. And he never listened to her. And then next thing you know, it all came crashing down as a result, because one didn't want to listen. It's this pride thing. Pride comes before fall. The Lord stiff arms like a doggone running back. That prideful person, bro.
Listen, man. Go ahead. Yeah, no, you go ahead, man.
Yeah, I'm a little bit sensitive to it because I was a fool and I was spiritually abused in college. So I was part of and it's the younger you are, the younger spiritually you are, the more susceptible I think you are to being spiritually abused, because you're excited, you got this leader, and you're like, yeah, I want to follow you, and this person is so influential in your life, they can, especially if they're immature and don't recognize it, or if they're being vindictive, like they can just take advantage of that.
Yep.
So, dude, I remember, so in this college ministry that I was in, the college leader started saying, the Lord is moving here, and if anybody's not on board with what the Lord is doing, they're in rebellion.
Whew. Lord have mercy.
So now, all of us young college students, we're now afraid to like even speak out against or not to show up, because now we're rebellious, and rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that is some dark stuff, man. That's some dark stuff.
We ain't even in church, and this dude said if you leave this organization, you're in rebellion, bro. Like, that is
wow.
It smells like a cult to me.
I'm saying, like, that is some wild stuff, man. That is some wild stuff, and that stuff happens a lot more than we would like to admit, you know. And that is the thing. I think a part of the problem. I mean, I honestly think a part of the problem is theology, right? Like, and when people are in leadership positions, what does that make them in terms of how God sees them, and what level of power does that person have over your life, right? I think people, because, you know, emotional reasons, psychological reasons, and spiritual reasons, they will entrust themselves to somebody without really doing the work of understanding what level of trust you're supposed to put in anybody, right? And so now, if you are young, and this is the thing, that's why a lot of times these things happen in a lot of situations where you have younger people involved, because it's just, you know, you just don't know what you don't know. And your emotions will take hold of you and make you feel like, man, I feel so good in this place. I feel so good in these relationships. This is the first time I felt so happy in my life. I feel like I have a family, and I feel like this person cares about me. And so when they come down with a hard edict about something, it's like, well, man, like, that's tough, but I don't want to lose this. And so I'm going to just I'm going to humble myself. And so you find a way to put yourself in a position where you don't have to think, but instead you're just going to trust. And that seems, in a certain way, that seems biblical, because it's like the Bible is like, listen, you got to trust God with your life. So like, this man is the man of God. So, and clearly he's doing some good work here. So me trusting him is me trusting God.
we need to take a break. I need to give a verse.
Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
That Psalm 118 is better to trust in the Lord than put confidence in man.
Ooh. Ooh. Man, that is
Bro. Because one thing, when my dad saw me in this Bible study group and became very disturbed. And so my dad, in talking to me, he said, Jason, notice that whenever I talk to you and you ask me what decision you need to make, I never tell you what decision to make. I always present different scenarios to you so that you can make your own decision as you are accountable to the Lord. But this guy over here, he's always trying to force you and your friends to make one decision. He's like, pay attention to that. And the most embarrassing thing, man, that we laugh at now, but this brother got of course, he's in his 40s, 30s, 40s. We're in our, young 19, 18, 19-year-olds.
Yeah.
And he's like, we college students. So what do college students like to do when they're not studying? Chase each other. Like, who you gonna hook up with?
Right.
Even from a moral sense, like nothing.
Yeah.
We try to figure out who you gonna date.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Brother gets up and say, some of y'all in here liking each other and doing relationships. The Lord ain't told me that none of y'all are supposed to be together except for two couples.
Oh, jeez. Oh, shit. Well, gosh.
And he named one dude and one girl. It was obvious like they were kicking it. They had something going on. And then he named me and this other girl. And brother,
ooh,
I wasn't attracted to her at all.
She wasn't even on the radar, right?
No, not on the radar, bro. But when he said that, it was like, I was like, well, maybe the Lord want me to go with her.
Right.
And then to my dad's credit, my dad was like, bro. But what's great is my dad, in leading me through it, he didn't try to bully me spiritually.
He didn't was like, you need to leave this place and this place. Yeah, because that would have backfired. That would have backfired, and that's what. And this is the power. When people are under what the thrall of a leader, like this person is in control of their life. And honestly, what you're describing with this guy sounds like this dude was like he was in a Jim Jones manual. Like this dude was in the Jim Jones manual, and like he was up in there, like figuring out all the tactics and strategies. But like a lot of times when people are in situations, unhealthy situations like that, if you try to force them out of it, it actually brings them closer to the person that has them under control.
Yeah.
It's like telling a teenager, like, you need to stop dating this girl or you need to stop dating this boy, right? And oftentimes what that does, even though you may say, I have the power to that, I'm a parent, what it oftentimes will do is the opposite. It will make them nuts. It will make them dismiss the faults of that person and cling closer to them, right? And so your dad was very wise, not trying to force you to leave this situation, because it probably would have made you hold on even tighter to it if you did that.
Yeah. And so, dude, I started going with this girl, bro, and was not happy, trying to convince myself that she looked better than what she actually did,
Right.
And I never forget asking my dad. So one thing my dad said, like, if God wanted to give you a message about being with something that's so important as being with someone, wouldn't he tell you first instead of telling somebody else? And then one day I was like, Dad, Is it important for you to be attracted to somebody you with? Dude, look at me, man. Dude, I'm trying to convince myself to like this girl. And I never forget my dad said, looks ain't important, but they help.
Amen. And oftentimes it is the starting point that's necessary, right? It is the starting
Absolutely.
point that is necessary to just get things going. And obviously, as you said, it should have been the most important thing, but like it's got to be something, right? It's got to be
Yeah.
something. And
Indeed.
that is the thing, man. Like that situation, that is wild for him to even have said something like that.
Bro, because that dude, that jacked me up for about 8 or 10 months, man.
So how did you get out of that situation with this guy? Like what was it that kind of got you to say, okay, this is not where I need to be?
It was when people started leaving, and I would encourage them. What I would see my dad do, just, hey man, you know, maybe this is not the spot for you, man, but we family. You going? And I got rebuked for telling people that. I was like, wait a minute.
I'm not pushing them to come back.
Right. And not saying you don't encourage demonic activity.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You know where this dude is? Because I hope he is nowhere near any church buildings.
Bro, let me tell you this.
Jeez.
Some of these students started having some mental health challenges.
Of course. The guy mentioned demonic activity, but he was the source. He was just like the devil was working through this dude.
Brother, praise God that I got out when I did, because some other caps kept going. And man, let me tell you, bro. Let me tell you. People started taking legal actions.
Ooh. Wow.
They came after the school, and the school and just when all that stuff was happening, I was gone. And so they came. I'm like, I ain't got nothing to do with it. But part of it started, dude. What put all the logs on this fire is the crazy growth that happened. Like, it started off with this dude was a football champion, and dude, everybody started coming.
That's it.
And this kid just started feeding his ego. We got to keep what's going on here, and boom.
That's it. And listen, man, that here's the thing that people have to understand. God can, and obviously I think this guy is a more extreme version of it, but this is why people who are in leadership position really have to examine themselves and really look at the darkness within themselves and get help for that.
Yeah.
Because God will allow a church to grow even when there's bad leadership going on. Like he will allow church, like where people are legitimately getting saved, legitimately growing in their faith, but the leadership is messed up in that church.
Right.
It will still grow exponentially. And the mistake we make is like, oh, if this place is growing, then God must be operating here, not understanding that there are nuances to God's operations.
Yeah.
Like God can work in a place where there's also bad things happening that need to be dealt with.
And God wired humans and such where there's certain things that automatically work.
Yes. Yes.
In other words, if you put if there's a water hole in the wilderness somewhere, mammals are going to show up.
Yes. Yes.
Because they need that water.
Yes.
There's certain things that humans need.
Mm-hmm.
And so when an organization has those things, people show up. You look at sporting events. People like to feel part of something that's bigger than themselves. People like to feel part of something winning. People like to feel commitment.
That's a part of how God made them, and that hole within them that they're trying to fill something with. And that's why these things always work.
Absolutely. So if a church has certain trappings, it's going to draw people regardless of if the leader's healthy or not.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that is why, you know, even Peter talks about the fact that, like, hey, if anybody, including ourselves or an angel, comes with a different gospel than has been already preached to y'all, yeah, those people are accursed, right? And what he's saying is like, listen, even me, who got the keys to the kingdom,
Yeah,
y'all gotta look at me suspect when I'm coming in the wrong. If I come sideways at you, you need to keep me
so good.
accountable, right?
Absolutely.
So if Peter, who is the dude, if this guy is saying, listen, I'm the dude and I'm still somebody that you need to keep accountable, ain't nobody else out there.
Yeah.
There ain't nobody else
Absolutely.
out there who can stand on a mountain and be like, hey, I am unreproachable.
Yeah.
No one can do that. And so if you're in a position at a church where you're kind of feeling like, man, we can't question things,
Yeah.
that is an automatic sign that the devil is operating there. Right?
Yep.
The
And
devil is
to
doing
your point,
something.
it was Paul, not Peter, that said that. You know,
Right? Yeah. Right.
Yeah, because he said, if anybody presents you, let them be a curse, including me.
Right. Exactly. And we
It's
see
like I always say, we gotta be able to be corrected regardless of who you are, because God is the only omniscient one.
Yes,
And
exactly.
and when you try to present yourself like you know everything,
right,
you try to present yourself as God to people.
yes,
And that is dangerous.
that is. Listen, man. Listen. And so we have to be in a position where, like, God gave us intellect on purpose, right? He gave us our intellect, He gave us our emotions, He gave us the ability to make decisions. Like, God is not looking for robots, right?
Right.
For it's like you're just gonna fall in line. Like, no, God wants you to be able to test things and make things make sense for you. Because if it doesn't make sense for you, you got to keep pushing for maybe God to show you something or whatever it is that you're just not seeing. But if you're just falling in line, it's like, okay, when that happens, especially at a group level, bad things start to happen. I've seen people endanger their families because they're trying to obey some leader who's telling them to do something. And it's like, dude, you're putting your family at risk following this guy. And God is not going to ask us to violate one principle of his to pursue another.
Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. You know, one thing I noticed that people like how much members want affirmation from this guy.
Right.
Right. So, like, and I've always noticed this from when I was teaching in the public school, teaching in Bible study and youth ministry. The human condition wants approval from the person that's doing all the talking.
Yes.
And so in Bible study, I would always ask a question, and people would respond, and they'll look at me like, "Am I right?" And I would look at them with a straight face, and I say, "Are you?
Are you?" Right.
And they're like, "Tell me." I'm like, "No, what you're doing is you're looking for my affirmation, more than an affirmation from God, knowing that you are biblically correct right now. All you want is the satisfaction of me saying, 'Good job,' and I'm not going to give you that."
And so people have to be convicted within themselves, and the thing, and here's the thing: for some people, is not even, you know, quote unquote spiritual issue, even though everything is spiritual. It may be emotional. We're like, man, like, they really need affirmation so much because they have this huge hole in their heart from something that happened to them, and like to get that from the preacher is like, man, like I'm filling this hole, right? And so it's like they want the preacher to give them an affirmation that they needed that they didn't get in childhood,
which sets up the members to be abused.
Exactly.
Look,
and here's the thing about it. The last thing I would say about that is that you can be really smart, because a lot of times people think that, oh, these situations happen when people are kind of like just not intellectually, like, you know, smart or sufficient or whatever, and so you're just kind of like not really a smart person or not a critical thinker. But this happens to everybody, because when it comes to emotional holds, it doesn't matter how smart you are, because those emotional needs are going to outweigh whatever intellect you think you have, and you'll get sucked into situations with all the brains in the world because you have this huge need that you're trying to get filled. And then somebody sees that need, and either intentionally or unintentionally starts to prey upon you and prey upon your family.
Yes, sir. And wind up people's gifts and talents wind up being used and abused.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying, man. We gotta train people to think theologically and not feel, because feelings are real, but they're not always right. They're very
not.
deceptive.
And you need to, and this is what I always say, like, feelings, God gave us all our feelings.
Yeah.
So that means that we need to start understanding our feelings and what our feelings mean.
Yeah, that's good.
And what is God trying to tell us with our feelings?
That's so good.
So if I'm in a situation where, like, I just feel like empty, okay, there is something I need to do to address that.
Right.
I can't ignore it. I can't stuff it away. I got to address it. If I am in a situation where I can't deal with conflict, what is that? Why? What's going on? I need to look into that. I need to see. I need to address it. And I'm telling you, man, like, members need to do that, but especially the leaders, because when you're a leader,
yes, sir,
you have to do, like, the members should do that.
Yeah.
If you think you're trying to be a leader of God in God's church, you better be doing that, because the level of accountability God is going to have for you
absolutely
is so much higher.
Yep. Dude, I remember one time there was this happens quite a bit, but when I first started noticing, like, when some people would show up, this is when I was a youth pastor, bro.
Yeah.
Some people would show up, and I would growl, like my inside, like, you know, like. But what I did was, thank God I had wisdom and insight enough to know that, what is that about?
What is that about?
That doesn't mean something's wrong with that person. It could mean something's wrong with me. Let me sit down and talk to this person and begin to give a deeper understanding of what's going on here. Why am I feeling like this?
Right. Listen, I'm sorry. I just got to jump in here real quick. People talk about the idea of discernment all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Well, like, you got to develop discernment, right?
Right.
And so, you know, if something in your spirit doesn't feel right about a person or a situation, like, you need to, like, listen to that spirit. And I strongly believe that if you feel like something isn't right, you need to do something about it.
Yeah.
But we also got to understand that our previous traumas can make us not like situations or not like people. And that is the discernment we think we're getting, where it's like, this doesn't feel right. Well, it may be God saying something,
right,
but it can also be your trauma saying something to you.
Absolutely.
And you thinking like, hey, like, I should or shouldn't do this based on how I'm feeling, but you didn't do the work to understand what that feeling was.
Oh, man, bro. Yeah, and you see, like you said, people make decisions on that. Like, I need to leave that alone. Like, no, it could be the cross that the Lord wants you to take up.
Yes, exactly.
So that you transform.
Exactly. And that's why I'm very big into the idea, like, listen, if you're not emotionally healthy, there is no way you can be spiritually healthy.
That's so
because
good.
The two are connected by the hip. And when you look at the fruits of the spirit, many of them are manifestations of emotional health.
Right.
Well, things like patience and self-control, those are all emotional health indicators.
And that's why I say man is dichotomous and not trichotomous.
I get that.
Because I believe, like, yeah. Sorry, I had to go there.
No, I understand.
That's so true, man.
It's critical, and so we have to understand that, like, God, when we are working with God, like, God wants us to do good things for him. But the most important thing God is trying to do is that he's trying to change us. Whatever good things we're doing is great and important, but the most important thing is the heart work God is doing on us, because he really does not need our help to do anything. Right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
With us, it's not about us producing for him. and getting up with what, whatever that preacher said, that you were that guy, that leader was like, well, God's work is happening here. So either you're with it or you're not. Yes, I understand God's work is happening, but the most important work God is doing is within each person's heart.
So good, bro.
So you got to do the work to make sure you're not stopping God's work in your heart, in transforming you into the person He wants you to be. And that doesn't mean turning off your feelings. It means listening to your feelings, so that you can find a way not to always obey your feelings, but to understand what God is trying to do with your feelings, so that you can lean into certain things and maybe walk away from certain things, but you're doing it through real discernment, not through reacting to holes that you have in your heart because of hurts that have happened.
Listen, everybody, we just getting started.
Yes,
this
sir.
is spiritual abuse part 1. Like,
Part 1.
We just set the foundation for y'all.
Listen, man.
So that's why y'all need to hang out with us. Hang out with us next time.
Yes.
With a comedian and a psychiatrist walking to a church. Let's go.
Let's go.